This is a bestseller and this is a blockbuster. This is a bestseller and this is a tax write-off. Why do studios keep turning our favorite books into cheap content? Every time a book goes slightly viral on TikTok, and I mean 100,000 views, a studio acquires the media rights within 24 hours. And as a community, we all scream, "We've won, we're getting a movie." But did we? Because let's look at the return on investment. Watching a book adaptation in 2026 feels less like a reward and more like Russian roulette. Sometimes you get a blockbuster like Hunger Games, but mostly you get a low-budget streaming original that looks like it was filmed in a basement. We are drowning in content volume, and I'm gonna be honest, most of these books should have stayed as books. The reason we keep falling for this marketing cycle is because of the golden era. So for this, I need you to mentally travel back to 2012, when Tumblr was a big thing. Look at the Hunger Games. Lionsgate didn't treat that property like a silly little teen romance. They treated it like a full-on war documentary. I mean, they built real arenas. The production design was massive and the cinematography was handheld and gritty. And they didn't try to make Katniss likable or aesthetic for mass appeal. They respected the source material enough to know that just because it's young adult, it doesn't need to be childish. Or look at Twilight, and I'm serious. Was it campy? Yes. Was it cringe? So yes. The color grading on that movie is iconic. The cold blue tin, everybody can immediately recognize it. And the indie soundtrack, I'm still obsessed with some of those songs. And people have them at their weddings. It almost felt like an indie movie accidentally became a blockbuster franchise. And finally, the gold standard. The Perks of Being a Wallflower. The author Stephen Chbosky actually directed it himself, which meant the creative vision remained intact. Honestly, it did not feel like another movie just made for the sake of being a movie. And this is the quality standard that we are looking for. But let me tell you, this is not what the streaming model is delivering anymore. And yes, I am also obsessed with The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I have the poster on my wall. I have another one too. So I come with receipts as to how successful this movie was. This brings us to the modern problem, the sellouts. And yes, I'm being harsh. This is a specific category where the movie fails because the budget allocation is too low. And I honestly have to ask the authors, did you read the contract or did you just want the money? Studios like Netflix and Tubi realize they don't need to make a good movie or TV. They just need a recognizable brand name. So they acquire a book like After, which is a bit generous to even be able to call it a book considering it started off as a Wattpad fan fiction. But regardless, they hire actors with zero chemistry, strip away the internal monologue, and just film a montage of spicy scenes. And don't even get me started on A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. We were honestly so excited for this, and what did Netflix give us? A sanitized low-risk adaptation. They watered down the plot to appeal to a wider demographic, and the visuals look like a generic daytime soap opera. And it felt like the producers skimmed the Wikipedia summary just so they could release on a deadline. But in doing so, not only did they actually not gain this wider demographic of people watching, but they kind of lost the original people. Overall, just fail. And it's not just storytelling, it's marketing too. Look at It Ends With Us. The movie overall was a complete disaster. Firstly, it became about the ugliest outfits on earth, thanks to Blake Lively being the costume director, and her hair care line, meaning it completely disregarded the domestic violence plot. Yes, the movie still had it in it, but if you look at all the press tours and everything, it might as well not have been. They basically used the IP to sell products, and Colleen Hoover did not care. So that is straight up commercial slop, and when an author sells out like that, it ruins the book. That's if it wasn't already pretty bad to begin with. But there is a second category, and these aren't cheap movies. They are just big budget fumbles. This happens when a studio invests millions of dollars, hires A-list actors, and yet fundamentally misunderstands the core audience and the story. Take the new Wuthering Heights. Margot Robbie, Jacob Elordi, Australian stars, and Emerald Fennell directing. On paper, this is a prestige project, but the critics are calling it a lavish fan fiction. That is the worst nightmare. And also style over substance. The casting of Jacob Elordi is a clear example of prioritizing marketability over narrative integrity. Heathcliff's race is central to the character's outsider status. An erasure of that for the sake of putting a trending actor on the poster is a marketing decision, not a creative one. It's basically Instagram cinema. It's gorgeous, but it's just straight up hollow. But this isn't new. Aragon deleted characters and Feather Dragon, ignoring the book entirely. Percy Jackson aged up the characters, losing the charm of kids exploring magic. A Wrinkle in Time cost $100 million and had Oprah and Reese Witherspoon and tried to turn abstract feelings into a generic CGI spectacle, and it ended up looking awkward instead of imaginative. And then there's Allegiant. The studio tried to split the final book into 2 parts so that they could maximize box office revenue, but it backfired and they cancelled the finale. And when you treat a book purely as a cash cow, the product suffers and the consumer trust is broken. The big budget does not equal big impact. If you strip the heart out of it, no amount of money, CGI, and A-list actors can save it. But obviously we do keep watching sometimes because the strategy works. We have to mention The Summer I Turned Pretty, which I loved season 1, and in my opinion it just... But anyways, Jenny Han is the blueprint. All the studios and authors want her success. She protected her IP, and she made sure Amazon allocated a proper music licensing budget. She got Taylor Swift songs. Do you know how much This Love costs? Probably more than the entire budget of some of these terrible movies. She turned watching the show into a whole event, and it drastically improved the viewing experience. But now, the floodgates are open. We are entering a phase of market saturation. The amount of upcoming projects is nauseating. Twisted Love, The Love Hypothesis, Every Summer After, I can't even list them all. Studios are acquiring every single bestseller book, and I'm sick of it. But there is The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping. This drops later this year, and the trailer does look good. But I'm equally excited and terrified. The original movies were a masterpiece, as I said. My fear is that Lionsgate will adopt the modern blockbuster strategy, prioritizing aesthetic over visual continuity. I mean, look at the Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. That was divisive. Some of it felt too polished and too clean, and I personally did not like the movie. I was so bored. And if the new one looks like an Instagram filter instead of a dystopian war zone and doesn't accurately portray the book, especially because it's a prequel, I think it will destroy the franchise integrity. Moving on, we have the rom-com factory model. We already have a case study. People we meet on vacation. It came out recently, we watched it, and it was fine. But it didn't look like a movie. It looked like a Netflix movie. It had that glossy, flat streaming service sheen, which I actually talked about in my previous video. The unique selling point in Emily Henry's writing is the banter and tension, but the movie treated it like a generic script. And yes, it had Tom Blythe, who was also in the previous Hunger Games movie, so you can kind of see the theme of using the same actors over and over again. And that is a template they are about to copy for everything. Beach Read, The Love Hypothesis, the 10,000 Colleen Hoover books. The danger here isn't so much that they will be bad, it is that they'll be standardized and all look and feel the same. And at that point, why even watch multiple? And with this much volume, studios reuse production assets and lighting setups. So if Beach Read looks exactly like a Hallmark movie, then the IP value is 0. Then we have the risk management category. Netflix bought Lights Out. This is a dark romance novel which I kind of find icky. It involves stalking, which is not cute in my opinion. And do we really trust massive publicly traded corporations to adapt morally grey men without sanitizing the narrative? My prediction, they are going to soften it to appeal to a wider demographic, and they will turn stalker into yearning to avoid backlash. And finally, Boys of Tommen. This just got announced for TV, and I've done the math. These books are massive, they are dense, and they deal with serious heavy trauma. And they are trying to fit this in a standard 6 to 8 episode series. That is just wrong, and I don't think it's going to be good. You cannot fit 600 plus pages of character development into 6 hours of television without completely destroying the narrative. And it's going to feel like a Sparks Notes version. Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, Icebreaker. I mean, what are they going to do next? We are drowning in content overload. I just want TV shows and movies that are just TV shows and movies. I'm going to watch Off Campus, I'm going to watch Sunrise. But honestly, it is stressing me out because I really don't want these to be ruined. But anyways, hit subscribe if you want to keep tracking this industry shift with me. Like the video and comment down below which adaptation was a huge flop. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.